Lady Justice, inviting all of the people out on an adventure. Let's go see what we can find. Who's in?
Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into something absolutely crucial today, the First Amendment right to record public servants. If you've ever wondered exactly what legally protects a citizen journalist out there filming on a public sidewalk, well, you're in the right place. Let's get right to it and make sure your facts are bulletproof. For this Explainer, we're going to unpack the exact cornerstone rulings that give citizens the legal power to document what happens in public spaces, making sure government stays transparent. The actual reality relies on two distinct rulings. On one hand, we have City of Houston v. Hill from 1987, and on the other, Smith v. City of Cumming from 2000. So we're going to look at how these two very real cases weave together to create your First Amendment advocacy rights. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for this Explainer. First, holding government accountable. Then, the right to speak, followed by the right to record. We'll get into the rules of engagement, and finally, wrap up with why knowledge is power. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, holding government accountable, which is really the true foundation of transparency. You know, the core philosophy here is simple but incredibly powerful. Education is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Holding the government accountable requires a really solid understanding of the law. But the good news? You absolutely do not need a law degree to do this. You just need to understand the foundational rules of the game. Once you have those down, you can safely and lawfully document public officials anywhere in the country, from sea to shining sea. Moving right along to Section 2, the right to speak. And this is where we dive into the 1987 case, City of Houston versus Hill. So picture this. It's 1982. A man named Raymond Hill is in Houston, Texas, and he gets arrested. His crime? Simply verbally challenging a police officer who was arresting his friend. At the time, Houston had this incredibly broad city ordinance that made it illegal to interrupt a police officer in any manner whatsoever. Kind of wild, right? Well, jump forward to 1987, and the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in and completely struck that city law down. They definitively established that you simply cannot be arrested just for verbally opposing a public servant. And the source pulls out this brilliant quote from the Supreme Court that I just have to read to you. The freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest is one of the principal characteristics by which we distinguish a free nation from a police state. Wow. That is a remarkably powerful statement. The highest court in the land firmly established that public servants must endure observation and verbal pushback. Honestly, this ruling laid the absolute groundwork for the modern accountability movement. All right, Section 3, the right to record, focusing on our year 2000 case, Smith v. City of Cumming. The background of this case is fascinating. The Smith family was allegedly being harassed by their local police force for one simple reason. They were videotaping the police on public property. Now, the Smiths didn't just accept this treatment, they fought back and sued. And when the case finally reached the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, the court didn't just side with the family. They went a step further and cemented a massive constitutional precedent for all of us. The crucial point here is what the source calls the First Amendment extension. Basically, the court explicitly ruled that private individuals have a constitutional right to gather information about what public officials do on public property. And yes, that explicitly includes photographing and videotaping police conduct. You don't need a special press badge to be a journalist. If you have a lawful right to be standing in a public space, your camera acts as a direct extension of your free speech rights. So to bring it all together, Smith gives citizens the right to hold the camera, and Hill protects your right to speak while you're doing it. Let's move to Section 4, Rules of Engagement, where we explore what's called time, place, and manner restrictions. Now, as amazing as these rights are, the source makes sure to emphasize that they are not absolute. Courts apply what they call reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. But what does that actually mean for you in practice? Well, it means you have the absolute legal right to record, for sure, but you absolutely cannot physically interfere with an official's lawful duties. That's the line in the sand. To make this perfectly clear, the text contrasts two very specific scenarios. Say you're standing 10 feet away on a traditional public sidewalk, filming a traffic stop. That is a protected activity, no problem. But if you step into the middle of the street, block an officer's path, or, tamper with an active crime scene, yeah, you've crossed the line. You've just moved out of protected First Amendment activity and right into unprotected physical obstruction. So to sum up the actionable takeaways, the source outlines 4 key rules of engagement. First, be an observer and documentarian. Second, stand your ground in traditional public forums, places like sidewalks and parks. Third, just let the camera do the work. And fourth, and really most importantly, do not physically interfere. Following these simple rules keeps your actions strictly protected by the highest laws in the land. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Knowledge is Power, Uniting for Accountability. The overarching message of this whole explainer is that knowing your rights is literally the very first step to protecting them. By looking at real cases like City of Houston v. Hill and Smith v. City of Cumming, we see proof that the Constitution is truly alive. It actively protects our ability to peacefully shine a light on public servants, ensuring transparency from the ground up. This source offers such a fascinating, structured look at how these powerhouse First Amendment cases shape our real-world interactions on the street. It really clarifies that critical boundary between legal observation and unlawful interference. So as technology makes a high-definition camera available to pretty much everyone right in their pocket, we want to leave you with a question to reflect on. Have you ever exercised your right to record? How do you think these rules of engagement might evolve in the future? We hope you found this explainer helpful. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and until next time, stay curious. Education is knowledge, and knowledge is power.
Have you heard the word? thepolicerecord.com/invite/LJLP. Get you some discountage over there at thepolicerecord.com. Hope to see you there.